The glass shattered before anyone could react. A tray of drinks slipped from Emma Carter's trembling hands as three loud men at the corner booth laughed, their voices dripping with cruelty. "Come on, sweetheart," one of them sneered, reaching for her wrist. The Friday night crowd froze, heads turning. That's when a man in a plain gray t-shirt, broad-shouldered, his hands scarred from years of labor, stood up from his seat by the bar. His eyes locked on the men, jaw tight. This wasn't just another customer. This was Daniel Hayes, a 38-year-old. Single father who didn't tolerate cruelty, especially not toward someone trying to make an honest living. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. Asterisk, asterisk, Emma's voice shook as she whispered, "Please let go." The taller man, maybe mid-40s, smirked. "Relax, doll, we're just having some fun." His grip tightened around her wrist, making her flinch. The restaurant's hum died into silence. No one moved until Daniel's chair scraped back. He walked forward with slow, deliberate steps, his 12-year-old daughter Lily watching anxiously from their booth near the kitchen. "Let her go," Daniel said, his voice low, steady, carrying enough weight that even the bartender stopped mid-dashboard. The men chuckled. "And who the hell are you?" One spat. Daniel didn't blink. "A father. Which means I don't sit back while men twice her size act like predators." Emma's breath caught. The man released her wrist but puffed up his chest, ready to escalate. Daniel stepped closer, shoulders squared, calm but unyielding. The tension stretched so tight it could snap. Emma whispered, "Don't. They're not worth it." But her eyes said something else: gratitude, relief. For once, someone wasn't going to just watch. The leader sneered, muttering to his buddies, "Guy thinks he's some hero." He shoved Daniel's chest lightly, testing him. Daniel didn't move an inch. His voice dropped lower. "You've got two options: walk out that door now, or test me and regret it in front of every person here." The entire restaurant held its breath. The men exchanged glances, waiting for Daniel to flinch. He didn't. His eyes never left theirs. After a long pause, the one in front scoffed, "This place is a dump anyway." He tossed a wad of crumpled bills on the table, grabbed his coat, and stormed out with his friends. The air released in one collective exhale. Emma stumbled back, holding her wrist, eyes watering. Daniel gently reached out, not touching her, just steadying. "You okay?" She nodded quickly, though her voice cracked. I think so, thank you. Most people just look away." Daniel gave a faint, tired smile. "Most people forget what it feels like to need help. I don't." His daughter Lily ran up, slipping her small hand into his. "Dad, are you gonna get in trouble?" she whispered. He knelt to her level. "Not for doing the right thing." The bartender finally moved, clapping Daniel on the shoulder. "Man, that took guts, but you might want to keep a low profile. You're the boss here after all." Emma froze, her lips parted. "Wait, what?" Daniel stood, slipping his hands back into his pockets. His expression didn't change. "Yeah, this place Hayes Grill. My name's on the paperwork. I don't brag about it. I just make sure it's a place people feel safe." Emma stared at him, wide-eyed. All this time, she thought he was just another regular. The quiet single dad who ate here after shifts at the garage. But he wasn't just protecting her. He was protecting his own people. Her throat tightened. "You own this restaurant?" Daniel nodded. "And tonight, you don't go home feeling like no one cares." "Not on my watch." Emma pressed her trembling hand to her chest. For the first time in months, maybe years, she felt seen, not as just a waitress, but as a person worth protecting. Asterisk, asterisk, the restaurant's buzz had barely returned when Emma slipped into the break room, her hands trembling as she pressed a damp towel against her wrist. She kept replaying the moment, Daniel's steady stare, his voice like iron, the way he'd shielded her without hesitation. She had worked here for 3 years, enduring late nights, low pay, and customers who thought kindness meant weakness. Never once had anyone stepped in. Until the door creaked open, Emma jumped. It was Daniel, holding a small ice pack wrapped in a cloth. His daughter Lily peeked from behind his leg, curiosity flickering in her wide eyes. "Thought you might need this," Daniel said softly, offering the pack. Emma blinked, caught between gratitude and embarrassment. "You didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He handed it over, his voice steady but kind. "I've got a daughter. If someone ever laid a hand on her, I'd want the whole world to stand up for her." Emma swallowed hard, pressing the ice pack against her bruised wrist. The cold stung, but it was nothing compared to the warmth rising in her chest. She glanced at Lily, who shyly stepped forward. "You were really brave," Lily whispered, her small voice tugging at Emma's heart. Emma's lips curved into a shaky smile. "Your dad's the brave one. I just froze." Daniel crouched down to Lily's height. "Being scared doesn't mean you're weak, kiddo. It means you're human. The important part is what you do next." His eyes flicked to Emma, and the words carried heavier weight than she expected. Before Emma could reply, the front doors slammed open. Voices barked across the dining room, louder, meaner. Emma's chest tightened. They came back, a line. Cook muttered, rushing into the break room. Daniel straightened immediately. His calm expression hardened into something else, protective, unflinching. "Stay here," he told Lily. Then he looked at Emma. "You too." But Emma shook her head. "It's me they're after. I can't just hide." "Then stay behind me," Daniel said firmly. Pushing the door open, out in the dining room, the 3 men stood at the entrance, shoulders squared, eyes wild with pride and alcohol. The leader, the one who grabbed Emma, pointed at Daniel. "You embarrassed us. Nobody makes a fool out of me in public." The crowd of customers shifted uneasily, some already pulling out phones. The bartender whispered, "Cops are on their way." But the tension was thick, seconds from snapping. Daniel walked forward, his boots heavy on the hardwood floor. "You should have left it alone," he said evenly. The man sneered. "Or what? You gonna swing at me in front of your kid? In front of your staff? Some boss you are." Emma's breath caught. "Boss." The word spread like wildfire across the room, customers whispering. They all knew now this wasn't just a single dad defending a waitress. This was the man who owned the building they stood in. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "This is my house. You don't disrespect my people here. You want to test that?" The man laughed, but it was shaky. His buddies looked less confident, glancing at the crowd recording them. One muttered, "Maybe we should go, man. Shut up." The leader barked. He lunged forward, shoving Daniel harder this time. The room gasped. Emma instinctively stepped closer, fear gripping her stomach. But Daniel didn't budge. Instead, he leaned in so close the man had no choice but to lock eyes with him. His voice dropped low, nearly a growl. "You've already lost. Everyone here sees you for what you are. Cowards who pick on women. You think that's strength?" He shook his head slowly. "Get out. Before the cops arrive and you explain your little stunt to them." The leader's face turned red, his breath ragged. But the reality set in, the crowd filming, the sirens wailing faintly outside, the unshakable man staring him down. With a final curse, he shoved a chair aside and stormed toward the door. His friends trailed after him, muttering. The second they left, the room erupted in chatter. Phones snapping down, relief washing over the diners. The tension cracked like glass, finally settling. Emma's knees weakened. She gripped the back of a chair, her wrist throbbing, her chest rising and falling too fast. Daniel turned to her, steady, controlled. "You all right?" Her voice broke. I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to," he said simply. Nobody here deserves to feel unsafe. Not in my restaurant, not on my watch. But Emma shook her head. Tears filled her eyes, not just from fear, but from something deeper. People don't do that anymore. They don't step in. They don't care. Why did you? Daniel hesitated, then glanced at Lily. His voice softened. Because I know what it feels like to not have anyone. And I promised myself no one in my reach would ever feel that again. Emma's throat tightened. She'd worked double shifts. To cover rent, then brushed off when men crossed lines, and swallowed humiliation just to keep her job. And here was a man who stood tall, not just for her, but for everyone who felt small. The police arrived, took statements, and escorted the men out after witnesses backed Emma's story. But even after the flashing lights faded, the night carried weight. Customers clapped Daniel on the back, murmuring thanks. Emma noticed something: respect. People didn't just see him as a customer anymore. They saw him as a leader. Later, as the restaurant quieted and staff began cleaning up, Emma lingered near the bar. Daniel helped Lily with her coat, his hand gentle on her shoulder. Something about the sight pierced Emma's chest. This wasn't a man seeking recognition. He was just a father. A protector. She gathered courage and walked over. You didn't just protect me, she said softly. You showed everyone what real strength looks like. Daniel glanced at her, faint smile tugging at his lips. Real strength isn't about fists. It's about standing up when no one else will. Emma nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. Still. Thank you. Tonight could have gone very differently if you hadn't been here. Daniel's gaze lingered on her, steady, sincere. Then maybe I was supposed to be here. For the first time that night, Emma felt safe, not because the men were gone, but because someone had reminded her she was worth protecting. Asterisk. The restaurant was nearly empty now, the last customers drifting into the night. Emma stood by the counter wiping glasses with trembling hands, her mind still tangled in the chaos of the evening. The fear from earlier still lingered, but underneath it burned something stronger: gratitude, admiration. She watched Daniel as he helped his daughter, Lily, zip up her small pink coat, crouching to tie her shoelace with a gentleness that made Emma's chest ache. He was strong enough to face down 3 men without flinching, yet soft enough to treat his daughter like she was the most precious thing in the world. Emma cleared her throat, trying to steady her voice. You didn't have to stay so long after. I'm sorry you had to deal with all of that tonight. Daniel straightened, slipping Lily's backpack over his shoulder. Don't apologize for what they did. You didn't cause this. And you sure as hell don't deserve to carry the shame for it. The words struck her harder than she expected. For years she had swallowed the comments, the stares, the hands that lingered too long on her arm. She thought that was just the cost of survival in her job. But tonight, someone had drawn a line in the sand. Emma's voice cracked. Why are you different? Everyone else just watches, pretends nothing's happening. Daniel leaned against the counter, his eyes steady, but distant, as if speaking from scars he rarely revealed. Because I know what it feels like to need someone and have nobody show up. When my wife died, people disappeared. I was just the mechanic with a kid, and nobody wanted to get involved. I promised myself I'd never be that person. He paused, exhaling slow. You don't leave people behind, not when you can do something. Emma's throat tightened. For the first time in years, she felt her chest unclench. Someone understood. Lily tugged on her dad's sleeve. Daddy, she needs help, the girl whispered innocently, looking up at Emma with big, earnest eyes. Like you help me when I'm scared. Emma blinked, fighting tears. You've got a smart daughter, she murmured. Daniel chuckled softly. She's my compass. He glanced at Emma. Listen, I know I don't say much, but you're good at what you do here. You care. I need people like that, people who don't just serve food but make this place feel like home. Emma frowned. I try, but she Hesitated, shame creeping in. It's hard when you barely make rent, when you feel invisible. Daniel's jaw tightened. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded envelope, sliding it across the counter. Emma stared at it, confused. What's this? Your promotion letter. I was going to give it to you next week, but after tonight. It belongs in your hands now, assistant manager. Full benefits, better pay. Her fingers trembled as she opened the envelope, eyes scanning the words until they blurred. She looked up, disbelief on her face. Why me? I thought I was just another waitress. Daniel shook his head firmly. No, you're the reason customers come back. You treat people with kindness even when they don't deserve it. That matters more than you think. Tears spilled freely down Emma's cheeks, her chest heaving with emotion. No one's ever seen me like that before. I see you, Daniel said quietly. And from tonight on, so does everyone else. The restaurant door suddenly opened, the cold night air rushing in. Emma froze, heart leaping, until she saw it was Officer Jensen, a local cop in his 50s, kind-eyed and steady. Hayes, the officer said, tipping his hat. We've got those men in holding. Plenty of witnesses. They won't be back here anytime soon. Daniel nodded. Appreciated, Jensen. The officer's gaze softened when it shifted to Emma. You've got a good boss here. Hold on to him. With that, he left, the door swinging shut. Emma's hands trembled as she clutched the envelope, reality sinking in. Tonight hadn't just been about danger. It had been about transformation. She wasn't the weak waitress who had to endure silently anymore. She had someone in her corner. She whispered, "Thank you for everything. For saving me, for believing in me." Daniel gave a tired smile, his arm resting gently on Lily's shoulder. Don't thank me. Just promise me one thing. Emma wiped her tears, curious. What's that? Promise you'll stand up for yourself next time. Because you're stronger than you think. Her chest tightened, but this time it wasn't fear, it was hope. She nodded firmly. I promise. For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy with everything unspoken. Then Lily grinned and blurted out, Daddy, can Emma come eat with us sometime? You always say family dinners are better when everyone's together. Emma laughed through her tears, covering her mouth. Daniel looked at his daughter, then at Emma, his eyes softening. We'll see, he said with a smile as they walked out into the night. Emma stayed behind, clutching the envelope to her chest. She looked around the restaurant, the place that had once been just another job. Now, it was different. It was a place where she had been seen, defended, lifted up and all because a single father decided that silence wasn't an option. Emma whispered to herself. A vow she knew she'd keep. Never again. I'll never let anyone make me feel small again. Outside, Daniel held his daughter's hand, his silhouette framed in the glow of the streetlights. To Emma, it wasn't just a man leaving with his child. It was proof that kindness could still change everything.